Welcome back to the Sungrand channel. I'm Jarrell with Sungrand. This is episode 10 of building a 50s diner for a video game. The game in question is Silver Falls, and our diner is called the Frying Saucer, which has appeared in a number of Silver Falls games, most notably Galaxy Bound Curse, and it's generally been referenced in other titles. But the novel Heavy Shadow features the diner quite prominently, and you can read Heavy Shadow for free on silverfallsgame.com. And we publish new chapters weekly, so you can feel free to keep up to date and see what's going on in the world of Silver Falls. So, on the last episode, we were filling in some small details, but there are a few things that I would like to get finished in the diner area itself in terms of the structure. So, have a sip of your coffee and enjoy this episode. Now, firstly, I think we might need some supporting columns here. There appears to be some degree of lack of structural support, and we can add more dimensionality to our structure with some columns. Let's go ahead and search for them now. Now, I have to admit, I am adding in some columns also for a bit of personal reasons. I would like more space to hang decorations and put things of interest in the environment itself. So I can hang some cool decorations which are 50s themed and fit the theme of the diner. It isn't absolutely necessary to line these up with any particular number, especially since the structure is not reliant on these columns. So I'm going to place them in a way that would make it more convenient for people to be able to navigate the environment. I would like people to be able to maybe sit or maybe stand here, so I'm going to give that just a little bit of room. And it looks like if I set this here, it shouldn't get in the way of people getting in and out of their seat. Looks like it does provide the structural support we need. Fantastic. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and duplicate that with Control D. And again, I will tap the F key, which will zoom in onto that object for me. Wonderful. We'll bring that over here. And it looks like we now have a bit more structural support for our building. This wall does look quite thin, and I wouldn't refer to this as a load-bearing wall. So it's nice to have that structural support just there. Let's see. That does seem to add a bit more depth to our room. Fantastic. I'm not sure if we may need one at the other end as well. It might make sense to have one at the other end of the building, doesn't it? Let's just have a quick test and see how it looks. We'd have to put it here, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the world doesn't make sense, does it? Might make it difficult for the bartenders and the serving staff to get around. So what we might want to do now is grab this, bring it over, and maybe it'll make it easier for them to get around. So that seems to make a little more sense. They can walk around this thing. Maybe if I set it here. There we go. That adds a bit more character to the building, and it seems like it could make sense. Wonderful. There is something that I did want to check, which I haven't done yet. I'm going ahead and take Dodger Rogers and make sure that he can comfortably fit through here. So now that I'm checking, I don't think that looks like there's enough space to get through comfortably. There are two options that I can do here. I can either move this over, but it's still a bit of a tight fit. Otherwise, I can either reduce the scale entirely, or I can skew it just a little bit. Now, the problem with skewing is that these perfectly round bars here now become more oval-shaped, I suppose, or there's another term that I can't seem to think of off the top of my head, and I think that might look a bit awkward. So what I will do is I'll decrease the scale globally. There. OH&S compliance means that you shouldn't have to be reaching over your head to store items anyway, so it's probably best if we decrease this globally. Fantastic. Let's back this up against the wall. And again, I'm using the arrow keys in Unity, forward and backward, to nudge forward and backward through the scene. Now, if I just leave that there, it looks like you should be able to walk through quite comfortably. That's A-okay by me. Let's see, what if we put a shelf right here? How does that look? Is that a bit of a tight fit? What do you guys think? Does that look a bit crowded? Let me know. I'm going to leave that there, but if you think it looks a little bit too crowded, we can go ahead and take that out. I just wanted to put something in there for storage. Okay, now we'll duplicate this fellow. Put him here, and let's see if we can fit one more. Looks like we can. Wonderful. So, you don't necessarily need that space for walking room. Let's make sure Dodger can get through here quite comfortably. Okay, Dodger, here we go. Let's go for a walk. We can fit through here? Sure. All right. And how about through here? Is this a tight fit? It looks like he can get through okay. That's not too bad. Careful not to put on too much weight, Dodger, or you might not be able to fit through here. And it looks like we are clear. Fantastic. And now we have a bit more character with those columns. Let's see. We have some other structures we can place in here. And we have a ceiling beam. Now, let's see if we can fit these up here. These also don't necessarily need to be lined up perfectly in terms of numbers, but, well, lined up in one coordinate. They do need to be lined up in another coordinate. It would be easier if I had them running across the bar in this way. So, is it necessary to have them lined up there? Maybe not. Let's go ahead and give it a test and find out. I don't necessarily want these too close to my light sources, as I don't want to lose the detail I have on the ceiling, but it would be nice to have a bit more dynamic with the shadow casting. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like at 3. We've lined up there. So, this piece is also lined up at 3. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that. Put that at 0, you can see that we have half outside. Let's go ahead and line it up and see where we end up. Perhaps 1.5 is the way to go. He doesn't poke through the outside, so that should be okay. And he looks like he'll be fine just there. Now, again, along the x-axis, it does not really matter. Just for fun, let's go ahead and even that out at 4, which means we can put this one at 4 as well. And now let's find out what'll happen if we put this at 4. All right? We'll duplicate that, and we'll increase this number by 3. How does that look? Suppose that works. Duplicate that, increase that number by 3. Increase that number by 3. Duplicate it again, and increase that number by 3. Looks like we've punched through the outside. Oh dear. So we'll have to remove this unit. I think we've got one that should fit. Let's go ahead and copy our component values. We'll select our beam, which is measuring 1 meter. Bring it there, doesn't really matter. Paste the component values. And now, looks like we should be able to just fit this in just right. Duplicate. And 13. Fantastic. Okay, that adds quite a fair bit more dimensionality to the scene. Let's go ahead and select all of our pieces now. Let's duplicate that and bring that over here. I'm not sure I'm a giant fan of how that looks. We can always come back and fix things later. I suppose it should be all right. I kind of liked the detail of the wall, this wall reaching right up to the top, but I think we may just live with that. We might just accept that. It adds a bit more character to the building, doesn't it? My main concern is the intersection of these two objects. Now, my concern is that we won't be able to have a smoothing angle in there. There are no walls that have a perfectly sharp connecting point there. There's always some degree of smoothing in each corner, And now it's impossible to have that because those are two different objects that don't share any sort of um, uh, data in terms of their connecting points, which means that corner will always look very sharp. Hurts my eyeballs just a little bit, but at the end of the day, you have to live sometimes with things that hurt your eyeballs. And while we're here, let's go ahead and enjoy a high definition logo on Ramanik's shirt. Here's the Chunky Chicken. He's coming in for a visit, having dinner at the Frying Saucer, taking a break from his work at the Chunky Chicken restaurant. Okay, now, our time. One thing I did set up ahead of time was one of these Midnight Falcons records. For those who have played 3 Down Stars on the Nintendo 3DS, they might recognize this record as a special throwing weapon that they can pick up in a special part of the game. So what I will have to do at some point is create new graphics for lots of different kinds of records. So I'll have to put different albums in there, different bands for the time being. Let's go ahead and just make this interesting. Let's open up our camera view again, which we didn't get to look at very much in our previous episode. And let's find our camera view. Bring it back just a little bit so we can enjoy looking at the detail that we now have in our diner. Okay. Here we have a little bit of glare coming from the window there, don't we? And it's sort of beaming in, so I'll have to see what's going on there. That doesn't seem quite right, does it? It's looking for the moon as a source of beams there. Okay, and this is just temporary for the time being. I'll set these here. And again, I don't want these to be perfect. It's little imperfections that make the world beautiful. And at some point, I will be replacing the graphics with other bands and albums that exist in the lore of Silver Falls. Oh, Control D, please. Wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, now, this wouldn't really be an American diner if it didn't have an American flag somewhere. So, let's go ahead and bring in our American flag detail. I set one in the oven earlier, and it seems like it's just about time to take it out. Let's see here. Ah, there we go. Let's figure out a good place to put this. Oh, good gracious. Seems a little bit too big, doesn't it? Let's go ahead and shrink that down just a little bit. Fantastic. We don't necessarily want anyone hitting their head on this, but good place to put this could be just here next to the stairs. People won't be walking past this area, so this might be a nice spot to hang it. Fantastic. And right up to the top. Wonderful. And America. Now, for my personal taste, that's just not big enough to be a real American flag. Let's make it just a little bit bigger. And fantastic. America. That looks good to me. There are a few more small details that I would like to add in, so let's go ahead and look for some of the items that I had planned in my head. All right, so right off the bat, we want people to know this is a cool rock and roll place. This is a model, and this is a prefab. First, I'm going to just drop that anywhere in the scene. Let's go ahead and make sure that it is the correct scale for a human being. Does this look right? I think it looks... That seems like it could be right. Perhaps it might be a little bit on the small side. Let's go ahead and scale this fella up just a little bit. Okay. Now, I would like people to notice this just as they walk in. A lot of our details that we have here are windows, which means I can't really hang things from the windows, but it would be nice to probably have it here. Let's go ahead and bring it over here. How about that? That way it's always visible. We'd like to have a pretty cool display. So For the time being, it'll just magically float on the wall, but when I have more time, I'll add some small details, which will be hooks that hold it up against the wall and stop it from falling. Go ahead and duplicate this guy now. Spin him around. Ah, fantastic. Now that's rock and roll. Suppose it might be good to put a clock somewhere, but I would like a nice 50s themed clock to set somewhere there. It's a little bit on the shiny side. Let's have a quick look and see what we have going on here. I'll reduce that a little bit. I might make a brand new spec map just on my own here, so I'm not a big fan of how this one looks. Okay. Now we're seeing it's just a little bit too bright. Just for now, I'm going to manually dial down the brightness so it blends in a bit better. Okay, fantastic. Rolling up to our time here, so I think we'll call it there for now. I'll get some things set up to be exciting and interesting for our next episode. I'll give it some thought, but for now, thank you very much for joining me. This is all we have time for this episode. I really appreciate you stopping by, and I really do hope that you'll stop by again soon. I'd appreciate if you like that subscribe button. This has been the Sungran channel, and I've been Jarrell, and you've been exactly who you need to be. I hope you'll check in again soon. See you next time.